40 days ago, we began our Lenten journey on an Ash Wednesday. And during our Ash Wednesday service, I told a story about a burned patch of ground in my backyard. It was a place where we had roasted a pig for our Noche Buena celebration, a Christmas Eve tradition that our family hosts. And in the aftermath of that celebration, there was only ash and only dust and only char. The grass was burned and the ground was scorched. There were still some kind of pieces of burned wood and leftover charcoal that were on the ground as a burned out remembrance that a fire was once there. And on that Ash Wednesday, I shared that my hope was that in spring, or maybe summer, that grass would regrow. Maybe even some flowers or some dandelions. This week I noticed the first signs of that hope. Right in like the very dead center of the scorched square was a fluff of grass. Right in the middle. I thought it would show up on the edge, but it was like, nah. I want you to know I'm right here. As if to protest the ashes. As if to remind me again that what is lost in the fire can be found in the ashes and that we can, in fact, live again. The message to the women on the way to the tomb and to the men on the way to Emmaus and to us, church, is that Jesus can and does live again. And so can you. What Easter says to us is that you can live again, that your hopes and your dreams can find expression again, that the things that you believed to be buried and lost, that they can live again. That what you have lost in the fog of uncertainty can find life again, that your finances and your relationships, that whatever it is that's been lost because of Jesus, it can be found again in Him. Death and all of death's consequences and death's children, they don't have the last word. Rejection doesn't have the last word. That lies don't have the final word. That setbacks and missteps, they don't dictate our direction. If Easter reminds us of anything, it is that Jesus has the last word in our lives because He lives. We too can live in Him. He offers us life. But the thing is, not just for us personally, lest we think this is just an individualized resurrection, but also Jesus extends life to us corporately and communally. Jesus extends life to us and all of us. Poverty doesn't have the last word. Injustice doesn't have the last word. Racial inequity doesn't have the last word. Substandard housing doesn't have the last word. Violence doesn't have the last word, church. We can live again. Our communities can live again. It's why we demand affordable housing for our neighbors. It's why we work with our schools and nonprofit organizations to provide tutoring and mentor, because failing schools don't have the last word on the matter. It's why we serve and stand with our mutual aid organizations, because we are a people practicing resurrection that points to the day when everybody has everything they need. And we do this because Jesus reminds us and all of us that we can live again. Saints, just as the angel was the messenger to the sorrow-filled women on the way to the tomb, reminding them that Christ was alive, we are now the messengers to one another and to the world, pointing each other towards the truth that we can live again and have life in Christ through faith. And we are the messengers saying collectively, through our prayers and our protests, through our witness and our testimony, that the cycles of death and oppression and bondage, they do not have the last word. Some resurrections might take time. Some resurrections may take more than a season or two to show signs of life, or even more than a generation to show they're living. And yet we keep working, knowing that we serve a God of all time and all of life, and that we will live again, and that you will live again. And we know this because Luke reminds us in verse 6 of the 24th chapter, He is not here. He is risen. And in that, we can live again.